So we got two fantastic news just to get it out of the way. First, good news is the ET7 2024 variant will be debuting very soon, April 25th at the Beijing Auto Show. You can expect me to be there to film some videos. I live really close there. So that car is definitely going to really boost sales for the ET7 by a lot, in my personal expectation, because it does indeed come with dual screens in the back for the first time ever. All right, of course, apart from the ET9, but for a car that you can buy right now, you get dual screens. But of course, there's another question that one might be asking: how come this isn't on the ES8 or the ES7 or the EC7? You know, these are all sevens, and ET7 has the rear screen, but ES8, which is more expensive, doesn't. So definitely there's going to be some people complaining about that, but we can expect future generations to all come with dual screen variants if you want screens in the back. So that's news number one. News number two, very good news, is the fact that NIO got its certification to produce cars officially. Before, they had to rely on JAC, and there was always that ugly made by JAC badge. My wife also gave me some salt about that. You buy your car from a truck factory. They make these kind of cheap trucks. So now, of course, they already got their certification. They bought the factory back last year. So now it's official. They have their car manufacturing certification. Very good. So some of you guys have watched my videos for a long time, and I've been making NIO videos since the beginning of 2020. And I took delivery of this car in December of 2020. And it's been quite a while, right? But I've actually been following NIO way before that. So even back in 2018, 2019, I've been following NIO. I went to several NIO houses before I even started making NIO videos. And back then I was a customer. I was a prospect. So even when I was following NIO back then, the stock price, $3-4, right? That was back in like 2018, and then it dropped all the way down to about $1.70. All right, and during this process, I was on different chat groups, on Yahoo Finance as well, reading the message boards, and there was this one very interesting case study. So there was a guy on the Yahoo chat boards, and he apparently bought into NIO stock back when NIO stock was at $6, and this was way before the run up to 60. All right, and he bought NIO stock with margin. And of course, when the stock price went down, he was in a lot of pain, and he complained a lot on the Yahoo message boards, and I was just a spectator, right? Back then I didn't buy into NIO stock. I bought a lot back when it was at 2, but this was way before, and I sold that position a long time ago. So, but I was watching. It was very painful to see somebody go through this. And he was on margin. Stock went from 6 to down to 3, 4. And I was at that point when he was asking people over on the Yahoo message boards whether or not he should sink the remainder of his money into the stock. And he basically presented the option of whether to bail out, sell at a loss, or to basically finance his home and get money, like a home mortgage line of credit, and to use that to buy more NIO stock. So he went for the latter. All right. So if I remember correctly, some people were advising him not to do that. It was kind of dumb, but he really believed in the future of the company, and rightfully, it was a good move to believe in the future of the company, but it was not a good move to go in with margin and put your house on the line to borrow money out of your house and to buy more NIO stock and become even more leveraged. So then, of course, NIO stock went down even more. It dropped all the way down to 1.7-ish, and that was just a big ass whooping for a lot of investors back then. It was just so painful. It was doom and gloom. But of course, people with a clear sight of mind and wasn't really that susceptible to fear, they either held or bought more. But unfortunately for that guy, he got margin called out, and his position got liquidated, forced to sell basically, and it was at a big loss, and he lost his home and stuff. And what happened to NIO stock after that? It rallied like crazy, right? From 1.7 to 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, $60 a share. And he was not part of that because he was liquidated when it dropped below $2. How frustrating would that be if you were in that position? You've held through all the pain of the stock going down, and then only to be forced to sell out by the bank when the stock just dips below your margin call line. And afterwards, when the stock rallies, that guy is supposed to be earning tens of millions of dollars, all right, from his position. Instead, he lost everything. And this has always been a brutal reminder. And even sometimes when I have dinner conversations with my dad, it's like we bring this up all the time. And it's just margin is so dangerous to play with. You get sold out in a heartbeat. The banks don't lose money. They don't want to lose money. So, of course, you, regardless of your feelings or your opinions of what you think the stock is going to go to, maybe it's going to go to the moon in the future. But right now, too bad, so sad. It's dropped below that line, that margin call line. Boom. You're sold out. Gone. Nothing. You have $0 left. Nothing. That's how crazy it is. So one point is the moral of the story. Don't buy stocks on margin unless you're highly diversified. It's very dangerous. You would be forced out if the stock price moved against you in a very dramatic way. And that's just something that you don't want to see. You don't want to ever experience. It's just bullshit. It's bullshit. And then the second moral of the story, that could lead to more forced selling. As the stock price gets lower, people get margin called and there's more forced selling. People are forced to sell, dropping the stock price even lower. Other people get margin called and they could potentially be forced to sell. So you got this cascading effect of selling over selling after selling after selling. And these guys are long. These guys are believers in the company, but they're forced out essentially because of margin calls. So it's a terrible situation. And that could also mean that even though right now, we're pre-market wise, we're bouncing a little bit, that as the stock price gets lower, more people will get margin called. It's just a unavoidable truth. And of course, at some point, we'll reach, I think that point is now, in my personal opinion, but I think at some point we would reach a point where everybody's like, those people on margin have been wiped out, essentially. The shorts are overextended, too greedy. Right now, there's so many shorts in NIO stock. And it's just going to be it's going to be like a spring, right? Pulling the spring down, and it's just going to rocket up because of, people are overly pessimistic, overly expecting more downside. Longs who have been waiting to buy in are not buying in because they're seeing the stock price go down. But when it does start finally going up a little bit, that's when they jump in. They see that this is potentially the bottom. You get more buying pressure. Those people that have been wiped out, they might re-enter their position if they have more money. And shorts would also potentially see that this is also bottom, and they might also cover and buy. And you have a cascading buying pressure, and that could send the stock much higher in a very short amount of time. So, man, just don't play with margin, guys. And this is a very silly thing to do, in my opinion. All right? You never know what's going to happen, and that's going to cause the stock price to maybe drop or fly. You've seen stocks, some stocks, they drop 7% overnight, 70% overnight because of some bad stuff. You see some pharmaceutical stocks, they're like the Wild West, you know. FDA approval, the stock goes up 3x, 4x in one day. FDA says something delayed, minus 70%, minus 80%. Bam, that's the crazy Wild West. Imagine if you're a margin in those stocks, you'll be like owing the banks money. That's going to be crazy. That's going to be nuts. So, yes, I understand some people, and including some of my viewers, you guys have bought new stock with margin. I just pray to God that you're in a comfortable spot and that you can sleep well at night and that nothing bad happens to your position. All right. And it's just, I hope you understand what you're going into and understand that because of margin, there might be more forced selling. Some of you guys seem to be on the brink. I know some people in my Discord, but hopefully, we're done with the drop. I mean, like, we've been down for so long, basically over a month of just nonstop going down. The stock price down like almost 50% in a month. So this is quite nuts. Unprecedented, of course. Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. But of course, always be careful. All right? As always, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.